Hey everybody, how you all going? I hope you're going well. Made a video yesterday, pretty simple one, regarding learning a language and being extroverted or introverted, because I wanted to know what people out there thought, and I got some responses pretty quick, which is good. And today I've been thinking about another topic, which is very important with regards to language learning, and that is to do with listening and speaking. And I'm just curious to see what people out there are doing when they're learning a foreign language. If they're listening a lot during the beginning stages or not so much, um, or a little bit, or they're just going out there and speaking, or maybe you're trying both. I'm trying to do both. I'm trying to have both approaches where you've got the input being the stuff that you're listening to or reading, and the output is the speaking, or the writing. I think all of these aspects are very important, and I think that, but I still think that listening is the most important thing in the early stages of your language acquisition. Now, just as an example, Steve Kaufmann on YouTube. If you haven't already seen him on here, I recommend that you go and watch his videos because they're very good, and it changed the way I thought about language learning. I was very much, a couple of years ago when I started to watch his videos, but before that I was very much taking the traditional grammar approach and becoming very good at grammar and all that sort of thing, but I could never work out why I was still having a lot of trouble with the language and understanding people. Because A, I wasn't listening enough, and B, I was focusing on parts of the language which really make no sense in the early stages, and on their own don't get you anywhere in terms of a conversation. So grammar is the glue, is the mechanics of the language, which puts the information together. So it puts vocab together. Grammar on its own doesn't necessarily mean anything. It can add more meaning in context with the sentence, so you have a few words, and the grammar can tell you where it's happening or who's doing it, all that sort of thing. So it makes sense in context with other vocabulary, but on its own it doesn't really make sense. So I was doing that, and I was getting quite good at it, and I didn't know why. I mean, I was very good at grammar when I was studying German, but I couldn't work out why sometimes people would talk to me and I would just look at them. I wasn't able to understand. It was very frustrating because I was doing it the wrong way. I wasn't listening enough in the beginning. I did do some listening, but probably not enough. And when I started watching Steve Kaufmann's videos, he used to speak, and still does, about listening, the importance of listening, input, as he calls it, versus output. I definitely agree with him that you need to listen as much as possible. It is so important. You don't want to be in a conversation and be able to say something but not be able to understand what the other person is saying back to you. And as he says, there is no guarantee, you never know what the other speaker, the native speaker, is going to say to you, what they're going to come back at you with. So it's very important to listen and prepare yourself that way. And so I think his approach is very good. But I personally like to speak and listen at the same time, so I'll do my input, I'll do my listening, which is what I'm doing with Hungarian now. So I'm listening, and I have to go out and use straight away what I'm doing, because I have a lesson every week. That way I can actually get input during the week and output once a week and get to use what I've learned. Otherwise it's stuck in here, because there's people who can understand languages very well and they can't speak them yet, and I don't want to be in that scenario. But on the other hand, there are also people who can say things but they can't understand very well, and you definitely don't want to be in that position. And then there's Benny the Irish Polyglot on here, he has a different approach to Steve. I think they're sort of somewhat rivals when it comes to language learning, in the sense that Steve speaks of input and output, and Benny just says you have to speak the language from day one when you start to learn it. And I've been reading a lot of his things and watching his videos, and he seems to be a very successful language learner. He's got his own site and channel, Fluent in 3 months it's called. So he goes around 2 or 3 months in a country and learns to converse with people. And his philosophy is, don't wait, start speaking today, even if you've only got one word, because you'll never be ready. You can't wait until you're ready or until you're perfect, because you'll never be perfect. So just why not start now and improve as you go. So I'm just interested to know what you language learners are doing. I've really started to like. I've always been a fan of Steve's method, but I really do like Benny's method as well. Benny the Irish Polyglot. So I don't think we have to be completely one or the other. I think we can combine them, as I'm doing. Do all my input, and then go and use what I've learned. Every week I try to use it. I'll write it, and I'll go and speak it and put it into conversation. So even though my knowledge of Hungarian language is still very limited, I've started to speak from a reasonably early stage, and I'm able to carry a very basic conversation, and I'm getting better as I go. So 4 months ago or 3 months ago I was only able to say very little. Now I can say a bit more. Still a lot of gaps, but my approach seems to be getting me somewhere. So Steve's approach is very good when it comes to input and acquiring vocab. He emphasizes words, because if you muck up a grammatical construction, you'll still be understood. Whereas if you don't have the words, you can't say what you want to say. You can't talk. So words. If you got words, that's a start, and then you can always improve. With Benny, he says, it doesn't so much emphasize. You don't need thousands and thousands and thousands of words. You need all the main words, because he argues, knowing all the obscure words, you don't get to use them anyway. So as long as you know the important words and start communicating with people, then that's good. You can always pick up new words and new grammar points as you go on, which I agree with too. I think both approaches are very, very clever. But you don't have to go by a particular one. You can do your own thing, as I've tried Steve's, and now I'm trying Benny's. So, and it seemed that both seem to be very, very effective for both those language learners. So I'm just curious to see what you people out there are doing. Are you a fan of Benny? Are you a fan of Steve? Or both? Or neither? How are you doing it? Are you doing grammar in the beginning, or are you ignoring grammar? Personally, I like to not learn grammar in the beginning stages, and I have not really even picked up a grammar book for my Hungarian yet, and I've been doing it for about 4 months now, and I'm picking up a lot without doing that. I'm picking up a lot of words and things like that. But now, maybe now or in a month or so, I'll go and get myself a grammar book, and the grammar will make a lot more sense, and I'll be able to speak better and approach the grammar with some knowledge already, because I already have vocab, I already understand the language, I've already got the basics. But starting from zero with grammar, not good. I wouldn't recommend it, even if you are good at it, even if you do find grammar interesting, as I did take that approach when I was doing German. I thought that I had to have every grammatical pattern correct, every rule, every case ending, all that sort of thing, before I can actually go ahead and use my language, which is actually wrong. Because I've seen people speak German far better than I do, and have more confidence with speaking and make grammatical mistakes. Whereas I was always, oh, I can't make this mistake, so I don't want to speak and make a fool of myself. But now my approach has completely changed. So I'd like to know what you guys out there are doing. It's just a quick video that I wanted to make. And yeah, that's what will be about it for today. So let me know what you guys think.